Hello and welcome to the Conversation Coffee Break with your host Nadine Matheson. As always, I hope that you're well and I hope that you're enjoying your week. Today, I'm taking a coffee break with Sunday Times best-selling author Dorothy Koomson, and we're talking about her brand new short story, Beach Hut 512, which is available for you to purchase now. But before we start our coffee break, I'm also going to remind you about Dorothy's latest book, which is called Give Him to Me, and I recommend that you get it. It's very good. Classic Dorothy Koomson, full of twists. She's great. Oh, and one more thing. Dorothy Koomson also has a podcast called The Dorothy Edit, so give her a follow. The links to her podcast and to all her books and her short story is in my show notes. And I've just remembered one more thing. Sorry. As well as listening to the Conversation Coffee Break, you can also watch the Conversation Coffee Breaks on YouTube. Again, go down to the show notes and click on the link and you can watch Dorothy and I in full conversation enjoying our coffee break. Now, normally I would say sit back or go for a walk, but instead grab a cup of coffee or tea and enjoy your break. Dorothy Koomson, welcome to the Conversation Coffee Break.
Hello, nice to see you.
Lovely to see you too. Right, my first question is, can you tell the listeners about Beach Hut 512?
Well, Beach Hut 512 is a short story, so it's like 20,000 words, but it's a story of a woman called Sims who has had some not great stuff happen to her in her past. And now she's kind of like on an even keel. She has, she moved away from Brighton and then she came back and she bought a beach hut. And it's one of those beautiful, iconic beach huts on the Brighton seafront. And the book starts with her on a date, a very bad date. And she goes back and discovers that some of the beach huts have been vandalized and hers is the latest one to be vandalized. And when she goes down to the seafront, there's all these people there with the police, and she discovers that not only has her beach hut been vandalized, there's a dead body in it. And so she is now in this awful situation of wondering who the dead body is, who put it there, because there's no sign of the person who put the body there, and why, and is she being targeted?
Right, so my next question to you is, what came to you first? Was it the character, a specific scene, the overall premise, or something completely different?
It was the overall premise, I'd say, because as you know, as most people know, because I talk about it all the time, I live in Brighton.
No, you don't.
It's all about Brighton for me. So I remember walking along the seafront one time because I love to walk down the beach from where I live into the centre of Brighton. And I was passing all the beach huts and I was thinking, oh, I wonder what would happen if there's a dead body in one of those. And so obviously that's how writers think. And so that sort of came up. I came up with the idea of there being a dead body inside of a beach hut, like the ultimate locked room mystery, because you don't know how it got there or who put it there or who the person actually is.
Would you ever write a book not set in Brighton?
Or my earlier books were. My earlier ones are, but now my earlier books, because I didn't live in Brighton, I didn't write about it. I used to write a lot about Leeds, and because I lived in London years ago when I was reading, just a reader, I wasn't a published author. I'd read all these fantastic books, but they're all set in London, and I mean, I knew London and I knew the places they were talking about because I'm from London. But I used to always think the UK is so much more than London. So when I get published, I am going to set my books outside of London. And so it became Leeds, my first few books. And then I went to Australia and I came back from Australia and I moved to Brighton. So I thought, okay, I'll set them in Brighton because I'm here now.
And how do you feel about short stories? Because I've had to work hard on myself to get used to writing short stories. Like I always find them as a really big challenge. And this year I said to myself, you know what, Nadine, if someone says to you, oh, will you write a short story for us? Don't say no. Unless there's for some reason, like you just simply can't do it because of time. Like, don't say no. So I wrote 2 short stories for anthologies this year because I'm trying to push myself. So how do you feel about them?
I think they're great. And this is what I mean, when I first started writing, when I was very young, I used to write short stories a lot. I used to write sort of like 2,000 word stories. I've got loads of them all over the place. But I think writers, especially writers of novels, should write short stories. They are something to do, even if it's not going to go anywhere, they are something to do that will absolutely hone your writing. It's such a challenge to have to fit into a really short space of time, a whole plot. So you get the character development, you get the plots, you get the plot twist if you're writing crime, you get the story, you get people involved in the lives of the characters. It's really difficult. And I mean, you know me, I love challenging myself. So for me, it's a really fab thing to do. I love doing them. I love writing short stories. I mean, I always overwrite. Even my novels, I overwrite. So, you know, one novel I had to cut 50,000 words from. And this one,
50?
Yeah. And but I can be ruthless. For me, editing is the best part of it. So I can be absolutely ruthless. I mean, sometimes I do sit and go, oh my God, I'm cutting out something that I thought I was going to win an award for. But if it's not pushing the plot forward, you know, it's gotta go. And this one in Beach Hut 512, I think I'd started off when I finished it. It was around 35 to 40,000 words, so I had to ruthlessly cut everything out that wasn't necessary. And it's a better story for it. It always is a better story for ruthlessly removing all the stuff that's extraneous, the stuff that, you know, it's very nice.
It the noise. Get rid of the noise in there.
Absolutely, yeah. It's very nice stuff, and it's not moving the story along. So so I think if you want to hone your skills as a writer, put down the machine and start concentrate on writing short stories instead, because that will absolutely help to focus your mind.
What machine are you talking about, Dorothy?
Well, let's not go there, shall we? Let's have a nice little chat.
I know what she's talking about. We'll have a nice little chat. So, Dorothy, which character surprised you the most whilst writing this book? Well, writing this short story, I should say.
I think the character that I can't tell you exactly who it is, but it's one of the people she goes on a date with, because at the start of the novel, she's been internet dating, so she's been dating lots of different men, and one of the characters who she goes on a date with, he kind of surprised me a bit.
Okay. What's the most random fact you now know because of Beach Hut 512?
That there are tunnels leading from the sea up to the houses on Hove seafront underneath the beach huts. When I was researching how you would get a body in and out of the beach hut. That's not a spoiler, by the way. When I was researching how that would happen, there are actually tunnels that so that people could get to the seafront without going overground. And so yes,
that is such a good random fact to know.
It's great, isn't it? I don't know if they're still there. I don't know if they're blocked off or anything, but but they are.
Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Discover the Ryan Pyle podcast, hosted by acclaimed adventure television personality Ryan Pyle. Launched in April 2020, this engaging series blends insightful discussions on current events with exclusive interviews featuring prominent figures in adventure, travel, sports, filmmaking, music, and entertainment. Join Ryan bi-weekly for compelling stories and profound perspectives that inspire and inform. Available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube. Subscribe now and embark on a journey of discovery with the Ryan Pyle podcast.
This is my favorite question, like on the coffee break questions, like the random fact, because every random fact I've heard so far, I'm like, oh my God. And it's never just, I did this to S.A. Cosby. I thought you were just going to give me geography. And it wasn't geography. Okay. Was this short story harder or easier to write than your last book? And why?
Every book's hard. I have to say every book, because I put so much into it. I put all of myself into it. You know, I want everything I write to be better than the last thing I've written. And to do that, you have to really sort of like put everything into it. You have to put your heart and soul into it. And I think it's really obvious for readers if you haven't tried, you know, with a book. They might not like it, but I know when I've finished a book, there's nothing I could have done to change, you know, how the book was written, because I know that I've put every single thing into it. So it was harder than Beach Hut 512 was harder than Give Him to Me, because I wrote it after Give Him to Me, but it's not as hard as The Quiet Girls, because The Quiet Girls, which is what I wrote after Beach Hut 512, again, I'm challenging myself, trying really hard. So yeah, every book gets harder. So it was harder than all the previous books that have come before it.
Did it feel like a bit of I can't remember what it's called in the restaurant. They give you like the palate cleanser before the next meal on the course. Does your short story feel like that in the process?
Do you know what? When I wrote my short story, it's slightly longer than Beach Hut 512, the Bacon Detective Slice Baby. When I wrote that one, which I self-published, that absolutely felt like a palate cleanser, because I had no one who's going to tell me what to do. I didn't have any expectations. I just wrote it in secret, and it was a really nice thing to do for myself, because no one was expecting anything from it. So writing Beach Hut 512 was absolutely like work, like writing a book for, because I was writing it for somebody. I was writing it for the Amazon Original Stories series. So, and I knew they expected a certain type of novel. Whereas when I wrote my other short story book, no one was expecting anything. I could just be completely wild, and it could be completely different style of writing, because I was writing as somebody else. So it in a way, for readers, I think it's going to be a palate cleanser, something quick to kind of get into, and amuse-bouche, as they say.
That's it.
Yes, it's like a little amuse-bouche for them before they go on to a longer novel. But absolutely, I mean, I loved writing it. It was really good fun writing it, and really good fun creating the character of Sims.
How do you find the self-publishing process? Because you've been traditionally published since the beginning. Yeah. And then to have, this long career of being traditionally published, and this little, let's have a little trip down the self-publishing road and come back.
Yeah. It was a bit different. It's very different because, because like you say, I've been 20 odd years of being published one way, and having people to bounce ideas off and to say to you that doesn't work or this does work, and then to not have that in the same way. I mean, I got it professionally edited, I got it professionally proofread. I did the cover myself because I quite liked the idea of doing the cover myself. So it's my photo on the front, and it's a bit crazy. It's a picture of a cake with a meat cleaver and a fork. So I didn't have anybody design it for me. Yeah. But if I was going to do it, I would absolutely pay someone to design the cover for me. And I might reformat it and get someone to sort of design the cover for me, as I, because I always believe in paying people for the work that they do. So yeah, it's really enjoyable actually, because I'm a bit of a control freak. I don't know if I've admitted that before, but I'm a bit of a control freak. So it was nice being in control of all those things rather than other people.
Right. And before I go on to the next question in our coffee break, with your book, with the recent one, So, every smile you fake, and then give him to me. And then we got the Quiet Girls, and we've got Dr. Kez coming back. Did you ever plan for that to happen when you wrote Every Smile She Faked? Because we got 3 books in.
We know that's what, I was always like, I'm not doing sequels.
Yeah.
I was always never a sequel person. And then I did the sequel to the Ice Cream Girls, and I will definitely not do the sequel after I did All My Lies Are True, because I was like, that was so hard. And then so I wrote Every Smiley Fake, and I finished that, and I really enjoyed writing about Kez. She was like a really strong character. And then I came to Give Him to Me, and I had the idea about a girl who witnessed her father killing her mother, her abusive father killing her mother. And when she's a grown up, she comes back for him because he doesn't go to prison. He gets away with it, basically, because he's powerful and connected. And what I needed was to have somebody on the outside of it telling us the whole psychology of why she would be doing that and trying to stop her, because, she's not doing something great. She's not I can understand why she was doing what she did, but she's not doing something great.
It's not a good thing.
No, so I needed an outside character. I thought, you know what? Look who's here. Kez, the profiler and therapist, who would be
set up. The world is there.
Able to, so it wasn't like a intentional thing to bring her back. And then I got to the end of Given to Me, and I was like, I am so writing about Kez again because I love her.
You've got a bond with her.
It was really hard though, writing The Quiet Girls. I think also after writing Beach Hut 512, it was harder to go back to a longer novel. I mean, the whole thing with Beach Hut 512 was, I knew when I had the idea of, what if there's a dead body in this locked room, that it wouldn't make a full length novel. It would only make a short story. So when I was asked to write this short story, I was like, oh, that's the perfect idea. And it was a wonderful experience writing it, and everyone involved was so wonderful and really, really nice. I mean, I've been very fortunate in my publishing journey. I've had mostly 99% of people I've worked with have been really nice. So, and then I had to write a full length novel again. I'm like, really? Do you really want 100,000 words from me? Really? Could it just be 20,000 and let's just be done with it?
20's good. We don't need 100,000 words. Maybe 25 at a push. Maybe 30.
At a push, yeah. Maybe 30. I could give you 30. I could give you 40 unedited, So, so it was actually quite hard going back to long form, as it were. But I mean, the story was there. It's just like, okay, so I can't end it here then. I have to do more.
There's some stories that there's always like a continuation. They don't just end. Like they always ask me about Tenley, and they're like, will this be the last one? I'm like, no, because I know in my head already, I know there are more stories, not just for her, but for the team. Like, you haven't discovered everything you need to know about them. And if I still feel that way, then you'll keep getting more.
Absolutely. That's it. And so, hopefully I'll have another idea for the Kez, or maybe not, I could, it's quite good for me because, and for most writers, I think, because you can always step out and write something else and then come back to it. But I do like writing about Kez. I do like, because she's so messed up, but she's got such a good moral center. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So back to Beach Hut 512. Without giving away any spoilers, did Beach Hut 512 end the way you originally planned, or did it surprise you too?
It did and it didn't, because there was a couple of twists towards the end which I thought was sorted, and then as I started writing, it's like, no, that's not going to work. That is just not going to work. So I had to sort of like work around the new things that had changed in the beginning of the book, and and sort of like change it so it was plausible and it was possible. So yeah, a couple of times. I mean, I'm very fortunate. I have my husband who is very good at sort of bouncing ideas off him, and he's sort of like, he'll say, oh yeah, but that wouldn't work, or maybe you could think about this, and I'll go, okay, yeah, so I can go down that route, and I will then find a way to do that. Not necessarily how he says it, but just, I mean, he kind of gives me the kernel of an idea in my head.
Sorry, go on.
No, carry on.
I was going to ask, how important is it, you think, for writers, all writers, no matter, regardless of wherever stage you are in your career, how important is it to have like a tribe around you, people you can bounce ideas off or just have a random rant to because you haven't got a chapter to work?
Well, for me, it's been a weird sort of like hybrid working process, because when I wrote my first 2 books, I had another agent who I didn't talk to about anything about the plot or anything. And then I wrote my 3rd book and got my new agent, and I didn't really talk to him about this at the beginning. But as time went on, because what I'd do is I'd write my way into down an alley that I couldn't get out of, and I'd be like, or I'd write something and I think, oh, actually, would that work? Would somebody really do that? So I'd ring him up and I'd say to him, so what do you think, would this work? Or might ring my editor and say, would you think that would work? And inevitably they go, no, it wouldn't. So I'd have to find a new way of doing it.
You need that though, don't you? You need that blunt axe.
That's why I asked them. But then so I wasn't married at that point. So that's the thing. I wasn't with my husband at that point. Although I knew him, we've been friends for a long time. So when we got married, it was only every so often I would sort of say to him, oh, what do you think about this? Yeah. But in more recent times, it is kind of just easier to, although, I used to wake him up in the night and ask him questions. And he wasn't that up for that, really, apparently. I don't know why.
No, why would he be? Disturbing his sleep.
But for me, recently I have been talking more to some writer friends about stuff that I want to do and stuff, I want to try new things. I think it's really important for people to find a system that works for them. One of the advice I give to people whenever I do a keynote speech, or if I'm asked to sort of like to talk to people about at the start of their career, I always say, find a group of people around you who will support you.
Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Welcome to The Write Note, a podcast dedicated to the craft of writing.
From novels to song lyrics to Hollywood scripts, we trace the impact creative literature has on everything from pop culture and entertainment to history and faith.
I'm J. Ryan Fensel.
And I'm Kira F. Jacobs.
Indie authors and father and daughter.
Through tips, picks, and top 5 lists,
author interviews, and industry news, we bring a fresh and fun perspective to writing and storytelling, all completely free.
Listen to The Write Note on your favorite streaming platforms. Just search for The Write Note podcast and subscribe.
Yeah.
And you can be a support for them. I think it's really important. I think you need people around you who are going to be honest with you, but in a kind way. Your mom, your dad, your aunts, your uncles, your friends, they're not your people who are supposed to be your writing group, your support. Do you know what I mean? Unless they are writers themselves. But even then, they're meant to like everything you write. They're meant to love you and care about you and want to say that everything you do is brilliant. What you need is people who will be honest with you, but in a good way, in a positive way, and who will will be your champions. Because that's what your family and your friends are for. They're to be your champions. But your writing friends are the ones who want to share all the drudge and the awful bits.
Yeah.
And who will say to you, do you know what? I mean, this is what my agent and my editor do for me. That's the most important job. They will say to me, I really like that, but it's not the best. It's not, you can do better. And that's what you need from a writer's group. You need someone who's going to say, you can do better than this. Or you could say, that is the most amazing thing. Or I could completely see your heart in that. That's what you need from a writer's group. So, and you need to find people who can do that for you.
Yeah.
It's difficult though. And you will have a lot of false starts, and you will have a lot of people who will pretend to be your friend and who will secretly be seething with jealousy. And I know I shouldn't say that. And we're not supposed to say that, and everyone's meant to be, oh yeah, you know, I see it all the time. Oh yeah, this community, this writing community, they're all so supportive. Yeah, to a point. But there are people in there who aren't, you know, don't have your best interests at heart. And I want to be honest about that, because I don't want people to sort of like be open with everybody and then discover that half of those people are actually really jealous of you or leading you down a wrong path. I think you've got to be shrewd and be careful and find people who are like you and who you can trust, you know, and so you can say stuff to them and you won't hear it back from somebody else later on that, oh yeah, such and such said this, and it's a completely different version of what you actually meant. So yeah, I think it's important to surround yourself with people who are supportive and writer friends and creative friends as well. My husband said to me the other day that he was listening to somebody on the radio, and I can't remember who it was. He did tell me who it was, but the person said that it's really important as you go through life to have friends who are just your friends, who want nothing from you, who you can't do anything for, and they can't do anything for you, so that there is nothing transactional about your friendship at all. And I think that's really important. And so they're the ones you need to separate out from your work life, because they can't get you a review, they can't get you a meeting with an agent, you know. So the only reason why they are your friends is because they like you, and that's what I think is really important. So, you know, you need to separate them out from your work, your writer friends, who are your friends. I'm not saying they're not your friends, they're real friends, but there is always something transactional about your relationship, and you have to be honest about that in your own head, if not out loud.
I was going to say, sometimes it's about being intentional with the people you have around you. The same intention and thought you put into your writing, you kind of have to apply that to creating that tribe of people. You like choose wisely.
Yes, absolutely. Yes. Choose wisely. Yes, absolutely. Yes, that's absolutely true. You have to be intentional about it, because, you know, and I'm speaking from past experience. You don't realize that not everybody is on your side, you know, and I know I shouldn't be saying this, and I'm probably going to get people are going to try and cancel me, but I literally don't mind.
20 years in past it.
Yeah, but there are people, you know, and it can be really hard to watch somebody get something that you want, you know. But if you like that person, then you don't mind. I mean, I have no problem with saying congratulations to people who get things that I don't necessarily get, opportunities that I don't necessarily get. I have no problem with that, because I like people and I like to see people do well. But I'm not lots of people aren't like me, and they don't feel like that at all. So, you know, they will sit there seething and feeling like they're being wronged in some way, and you've just got to be aware that is around you. And some people are really energy suckers who will, you know, will constantly have this low level negativity that kind of permeates everything you do with them, especially with writing. I mean, especially with the publishing industry, the way it is, it's really easy to get into this negative mentality, but not do anything positive. Like, you know, you doing your podcast, you absolutely put something positive back into a world that is surrounded by a lot of negativity at the moment. And that's important, I think, to sort of like to surround yourself with people who are realistic about the publishing world and the world around us, but are also very intentionally positive.
Yeah. It can be so easy. And I mean it from experience to get sucked into all the negativity that may go on in different groups or just, different encounters. And you have to make a really conscious effort to remove yourself away from that and focus on the things you need to do, and also the positive side.
Yeah. Well, don't get me wrong. I love a bit of negativity. I love to wallow.
But you know what? Sometimes you can use it. Sometimes you use it as like it's a bit of a boost. It's like it's an injection of adrenaline. It's like, okay, this is what I need to do. It can show you where you need to probably pivot.
Yes,
in your life.
Absolutely. I'm not saying you don't be negative. I mean, good luck to me. I love a bit of negativity, but I also know that the world isn't always like that, and there is good bits of publishing. There is good bits of the world. And I don't want to spend my life feeling unhappy.
Yeah, I agree with you. Right. So, Dorothy, did you ever hit the wall when writing Beach Hut 512? And how did you get past it if you did?
Well, this is something I probably shouldn't confess. I left it so late that when I hit the wall, I was like, don't care, Koomson, you're going to keep going. You're going to finish this. So I had no time. I was like, I can't do this. Yeah, you can. You're going to have to. That deadline is there.
This is how you got past the wall, by just like, shit, the deadline's tomorrow. I need to write the book.
That's tomorrow, but the deadline's here, Koomson. You've got no more time, You know how you spent the time walking around going, oh, yes.
Walking on the beach.
And I'm going to have a good time in my life. And, I'm going to sit here. I'm going to scroll through social media. And I'm going to write a couple of emails. And I'm going to watch telly. You remember that? Yeah. Now you're paying for it. So...
It's such a parent thing. I can hear like my mum. I'm having a flashback to being like 18. All that time you spent watching EastEnders, you could have been spent doing your homework.
Yeah, that's literally how I think that's how I've lived my whole life, actually.
So Dorothy, what are you working on next?
I'm working on relaxing.
You should.
My next book doesn't have to be in for another 6, 7, 8 months. So, and if you believe that, you'll believe anything.
Which is what I was going to ask. How are you able to do that? Because I've been in this, because, I was off for a few weeks, like recovering from my procedure. And then I was getting like, and I knew I had to rest. So there's no point, forcing myself in front of a computer, in front of my laptop. But I'm getting like antsy, and also I don't have nothing technically to deliver because I'm waiting for edits. So I'm not even writing anything new until September, really. So I have space, but I'm like antsy. Like I feel like I need to be doing something. Yeah. How easy is it for you to rest in between books and projects?
It's not at all. I literally don't. As I said, if you believe in me, I'm going to relax. Good luck, you. I must be very good at making things up.
Maybe you are. Maybe you are.
I am. I've got a couple of things that I can't tell you about, which I'm working on. And I was actually thinking maybe I should write a Christmas story. It's a bit late in the year now to write a Christmas story, but I might write a Christmas story because why not?
Why not?
Exactly. I quite like Christmas films and books. So
me too.
I do love a Christmas movie and I do like a Christmas book, so I might write one.
Well, I watched so many during my period of recovery. I just basically watched movies 24 because that's all my brain could take. And I was like, I can write a rom-com.
I love those movies 24 things. Yes.
Yeah, I could do that. It's the same plot. I could do it.
But you know what, Nadine? It might look like it's the same plot, but it's not.
Oh no, it's not a pumpkin farm. It's an apple orchard.
But it's so interested and it's so involved, and you have to get certain things and just right. I mean, I think this is what way back when people used to think it was really easy to write Mills and Boons. Like, oh, I can do Mills and Boons, and then you get the sort of like the guidelines from it, and it is so difficult. You have to stick to so much stuff. You have to hit so many certain milestones and so many certain things, and it's actually not as easy as we think it is.
It's just how I feel about commercial fiction in general, though, that there's this misconception that out of anything, you know, in comparison to literary, it's just easy. You just sit down over the weekend and you knock out 80,000, 100,000 words of this thriller or this romance, and Bob's your uncle, you're done. But it's not.
It absolutely isn't. And then, you know, if you try and pretend it is, but, you know, and most of the time your editor will disabuse you of anything like that. That, you know, they'll make you realize that no, it's not that easy, and it's not that simple to knock things out, because everything, I mean, in plot-driven books like commercial popular fiction is, it really is so easy to see where readers will go, well, that doesn't make sense, or that wouldn't happen, and you have to kind of try and work out all eventualities, really. You have to work out what will work and what won't work. It's really difficult. It's absolutely difficult.
It's not easy. Okay, so what message or feeling do you hope readers take away from Beach Hut 512?
Well, I think, nothing is what it looks like. You know, you could be walking past a beach hut, there could be a dead body in there. Not really. That's not really the message. I don't know. I think
that's not a message. That's a feeling.
I hope their bouches are amused. I should say. I hope they're entertained. I hope they find it, you know, funny and entertaining and a bit scary as well, because there are little bits of it that are quite scary. But I don't know, maybe recognize something about the group chats, because there's a whole group chat thread throughout the book. You know, the WhatsApp groups and the group chats that you have for your neighborhood. You recognize some of the people on there. I hope people enjoy it. That's what what I want people to enjoy.
Okay. And finally, to end our coffee break, which book, film, show, or video game do you recommend? Doesn't need to be all of them. You could just pick like one.
Ooh. No, this is a difficult one. I'm just reading at the moment. I'm reading What Happens in the Dark by Kia Abdullah.
Oh, it's good.
So I would recommend picking that up. Absolutely.
Okay. And she was on our coffee break last week. So
cool.
That was good. So that just leaves me to say, Dorothy Koomson, thank you very much for joining me for the Conversation Coffee Break.
Oh, thank you so much for asking me for a coffee break, and I hope you will join me on the Dorothy edit when your next book comes out.
Absolutely. I accept straight away.
Great. That's what I was waiting. I've been waiting for a moment to ask you, because I was thinking, because I wanted it to be a new book, so we can talk about your new book.
We will.
And that's it for this coffee break. Thank you so much for joining me. Starting from season 4, we'll be bringing you regular coffee breaks. 30-minute episodes perfect for a quick chat with your favourite authors about their latest books. And here's the fun part. Next season, we are answering your questions. If there's something you've always wanted to ask an author, send it in. Email your question to theconversation@nadinematthieson.com, and we might just answer it in a future episode with a special shout out to you, of course. Until next time, keep reading, keep listening, and I'll see you soon for another coffee break. Oh, and before I forget, don't forget to subscribe, follow, like, review, and share this episode with your friends. Your support keeps the podcast growing, and if you head down to the show notes, you can also support the podcast by buying us a cup of coffee. The links are in the show notes.